March 15, 1943, Fort Bliss, Texas. Inside a sweltering canvas tent, 23-year-old Anna Hoffman stood trembling, not from fear of the medical examination itself, but from something far more terrifying. Through the thin tent walls, she could see the silhouettes of 50 American soldiers. Male prisoners waited in the processing yard just yards away, and she was about to be asked to undress. Her hands gripped the hem of her Wehrmacht auxiliary uniform, too large, borrowed from a dead soldier in Tunisia. The American doctor with the clipboard looked up. Captain James Chen, Chinese-American, Stanford-educated, strict protocol follower. Anna whispered in perfect English, her first mistake. Please, not in front of everyone. What happened in the next 4 seconds would shatter everything Nazi propaganda had taught her about the American enemy. But to understand why this moment changed her life forever, we need to go back 3 years to the day war trapped her in Germany. If you or someone you know served at Fort Bliss during World War II, let us know in the comments. The stories from that Texas camp changed thousands of lives. Anna Hoffman was born American. Texas soil, 1920. Her father, Friedrich, immigrated from Germany in 1902, built a cattle ranch 40 miles from El Paso. By 1938, Anna was 21, studying nursing in Munich, a summer program that was supposed to last 3 months. Then September 1st, 1939 happened. Hitler invaded Poland. Within a week, American embassy staff evacuated. Anna, caught mid-semester, was told to finish her program, that she would be repatriated within weeks. Those weeks became months. Months became years. By 1940, Anna was trapped. No American passport accepted. No exit visas issued. The Gestapo noticed her medical skills. They made an offer she could not refuse: work for the Wehrmacht, or we arrest your German relatives as foreign collaborators. Anna would spend the next 3 years doing something she never thought possible, serving the army that was killing American soldiers. But how did a Texas girl end up in a German uniform in North Africa? That story begins with a lie she told to survive. Tunisia. February 1942, Anna worked a field hospital 30 miles behind Rommel's front lines. Sand everywhere in the surgical instruments, the bandages, the wounds. She could taste it with every breath. The patients called her Fräulein Hoffmann. They did not know she was American. Could not know. Discovery meant execution. Every morning she woke before dawn in a canvas tent that smelled of disinfectant and blood. Wehrmacht protocol required her to salute Nazi flags, to stand for anthems praising Hitler. She did it mechanically, her mind elsewhere. Texas, her father's ranch, the breakfast table where they had eaten bacon and eggs while listening to FDR on the radio. That life seemed like a dream now. This, the wounded German soldiers, the British bombs, the constant fear, this was reality. Then came the day that changed everything. February 18th, 1942. A British pilot shot down over Tobruk. Severe burns, unconscious, brought to Anna's hospital because the POW facility was full. An SS officer gave Anna direct orders: minimal treatment only. We do not waste morphine on the enemy. She nodded, waited until he left, then spent the next 6 hours performing full burn treatment, the kind that saved lives, not just delayed death. Why did she do it? Anna would later explain, he was 20 years old, same age as my younger brother back in Texas. I could not try him. The British pilot survived, got transferred. Anna never learned his name. But 3 days later, a Wehrmacht medical inspector arrived suspicious. Someone had reported excessive morphine use. Anna was interrogated for 7 hours. The interrogation cleared her barely. But Anna knew her time was running out. Every day serving the Wehrmacht made her more complicit, more guilty. March 1943. The Allies captured Tunis. Anna's hospital unit surrendered. British intelligence processed her, noticed something unusual in her paperwork. Hoffman Anna, born Marfa, Texas, USA. This cannot be right. You are American. Anna told the truth for the first time in 3 years. Everything poured out. Trapped in Germany, Gestapo threats, forced service, the British pilot she saved. The intelligence officer's face went cold. You served the Wehrmacht for 2 years while Americans died. I was trying to survive. That is what they all say. You are being shipped to America. Whether you arrive as a prisoner or a patriot depends on what we find when we investigate. 2 weeks later, Anna stood on a Liberty ship crossing the Atlantic, in shackles. Heading home, but as what? Returning daughter, an enemy alien traitor? Sergeant Bobby McKenzie, 26 years old, Amarillo born and raised, had processed over 2,000 German POWs at Fort Bliss. He thought he had seen everything. Then on March 8, 1943, a transport truck arrived with 30 female prisoners from the North Africa campaign. Wehrmacht auxiliary nurses, telephone operators, secretaries. Most were terrified. Propaganda had told them American soldiers were savages. Bobby noticed one woman immediately, mid-20s, blonde, hollow-eyed. When he asked her name for the processing roster, she responded in perfect West Texas English. Anna Hoffman. But I am not really German. Bobby had German immigrant grandparents. He recognized the accent, the kind you got growing up near El Paso. Where is your family from? 40 miles from here. My uncle Friedrich has a ranch near. Friedrich Hoffman, the cattle supplier. Anna's eyes went wide. You know him. Bobby felt his world tilt. This German POW in Wehrmacht uniform was local, was American, was someone's niece. Ma'am, this is complicated. Within 24 hours, Anna would face 3 impossible challenges: a medical examination that would test her dignity, a Nazi loyalist who would threaten her life, and a Chinese-American doctor who would make a choice that changed everything. But first, she had to survive her first night in the women's barracks where a Wehrmacht true believer was waiting. The women's barracks at Fort Bliss, 60 German female POWs in a converted storage building. Bunk beds, thin mattresses, guards at every door. Anna found an empty bunk near a scared-looking teenager, Greta Schmidt, 19, Hamburg postal worker drafted into Wehrmacht clerical service. Greta whispered, "Do not take that bunk. That is Helga's row. She does not like new arrivals." Too late. Helga Reinhardt, 28, Wehrmacht Nurses Corps veteran, 5 years service, Iron Cross recipient for field hospital work during the invasion of France. Tall, rigid posture eyes that had seen too many operating tables. She stood over Anna's bunk. "You, what is your name?" "Anna Hoffman." "Service record?" "Tunisia. Field hospital." "2 years." Helga's eyes narrowed. "You are young for 2 years service. When did you volunteer?" Anna hesitated. "Fatal mistake." Helga smiled coldly. "You did not volunteer. You were forced. A coward, then. We have no use for cowards here." That first night, Helga called a barracks meeting. 40 women gathered around her bunk while American guards watched nervously from the doorway. Helga spoke in rapid German. "We are still soldiers of the Wehrmacht. These Americans cannot break us. We maintain discipline. We maintain loyalty. We wait for the Führer's inevitable victory." Some women nodded, others looked doubtful. Anna stayed silent. After the meeting, Greta explained in whispers, "Helga runs everything, decides who gets extra rations, who gets work assignments, who gets reported to American command for infractions. Cross her and your life here becomes hell." Anna had survived the Gestapo, the Afrika Korps, and the Allied invasion. But could she survive a German barracks in the middle of Texas where the enemy was not the Americans but her own people? The answer would come 48 hours later during a breakfast that changed everything. March 10, 1943, 6 in the morning. The mess hall. Anna had eaten Wehrmacht rations for 2 years. Hard bread, watery soup, occasionally meat that was more gristle than protein. Before that, German wartime rations, turnips, sawdust, extended flour, synthetic coffee that tasted like burnt wood. She had not smelled real bacon since 1938. The American mess hall hit her like a memory bomb. That scent, hickory smoked pork fat sizzling on industrial griddles. The sound crackling, popping, hissing as grease rendered. Steam rising in the cool Texas morning, carrying that smoky, salty, meaty aroma that meant home, meant Sunday mornings, meant her father flipping strips in a cast-iron skillet while her mother made biscuits. The serving soldier, a young black corporal from Louisiana, placed 3 strips on her tray. Crispy, dark brown edges, fat, rendered translucent, still sizzling. First time having real food in a while, Miss Anna could not speak, just nodded. She sat alone, lifted the first strip, bit down, crunch, salt, smoke, fat. The texture crispy outside, tender inside. The flavor exploded, rich, savory, with that particular sweetness that only properly cured bacon has. She closed her eyes. Tears came. Not from sadness, from remembering who she was. Anna Hoffman, from Texas. American. Home. Helga watched from across the mess hall, scowling. She had refused the bacon, eaten only bread and water, maintaining German dignity. Colonel Harrison, Fort Bliss camp commander, reviewed Anna's file with increasing confusion. German auxiliary nurse, captured Tunisia, born Texas, American citizenship status unclear, medical training equivalent to U.S. standards. He called Captain Chen. I am assigning you a POW assistant, Anna Hoffman, German but apparently has nursing training. Use her for basic medical screening. Chen objected. Sir, regulations prohibit POWs from... We are processing 5,000 prisoners a week, Captain. I need bodies. She is cleared medically, she has skills, she goes to your hospital. Dismissed. Meanwhile, in the women's barracks, Anna received her work assignment card. Hospital duty. Report 0600 daily to Captain Chen, Chief Medical Officer. Helga saw it, her face darkened. You are collaborating already, working directly with Americans. This is treason. Anna met her eyes. I am a nurse. They need medical help. I am helping. Helga leaned close. You help the enemy, you are the enemy. Remember that. March 11th, 6 in the morning. Camp Hospital, a converted warehouse with examination rooms, basic surgical capability, 50-bed ward. Captain James Chen, Stanford Medical Class of 1940. Top of his class. Rejected by every civilian hospital in California because of his Chinese ancestry. Joined the Army to prove patriotism. Stationed at Fort Bliss, processing POWs, not the combat medicine he had hoped for, but a duty nonetheless. He ran his hospital with precision. Protocol was everything. Emotions were irrelevant. Efficiency was paramount. Anna Hoffman reported at 5:59. Early, Chen noted that. You read English? Yes, sir. You can follow medical procedures? Yes, sir. You understand you are a prisoner, not a colleague? Yes, sir. Chen handed her a clipboard. Intake screening. Check for lice, TB symptoms, open wounds. Routine only, no advanced care without my supervision. Clear. Clear, sir. Professional. Distant. Chen treated her exactly as regulations required as POW labor, nothing more. But he noticed something in her file that caught his attention. University of Munich Medical School, 1939 to 1941. 2 years completed before service. That was unusual. Most Wehrmacht auxiliaries had basic first aid, nothing more. Anna had surgical training. Chen filed that observation away. Might be useful, might be problematic. Time would tell. Week 1, Anna processed over 200 POWs through medical screening. Chen watched her work. Efficient, gentle with scared prisoners, firm with difficult ones. She could handle basic suturing, new infection protocols, understood triage. Week 2. A German POW arrived with severe abdominal pain. Chen diagnosed appendicitis, needed surgery immediately or patient would die. Nearest Army hospital, 3 hours. Patient would not survive transport. Chen made a decision, operate at Camp Hospital, against regulations but medically necessary. He needed a surgical assistant. Anna was the only person available with relevant training. Have you assisted with appendectomy before 6 times? Munich University Hospital, 1941. Can you maintain sterile field? Yes. Then scrub in. Now. The surgery lasted 2 hours. Anna performed perfectly. Anticipating Chen's needs, maintaining composure during complications, precise suture technique. When it ended, patient stable, Chen removed his mask. For the first time, he looked at Anna not as a POW, but as a colleague. Where did you really train? Anna told the truth. Munich Medical School. 2 years. Top quartile. Forced into Wehrmacht service before graduating. Chen's expression did not change, but something shifted behind his eyes. That level of training is wasted on intake screening. I will request you for surgical assistance. Officially, news of the surgery spread through camp. Anna, the coward who had been forced into service, had just saved a German soldier's life, working alongside an American doctor. Helga called another barracks meeting. Anna Hoffman is a traitor. She works willingly for the Americans. She eats their food. She laughs with their guards. She has forgotten who she is. Greta tried to defend Anna. She saved Muller's life. She is helping our own people. Helga's voice cut like ice. She is helping them become soft, complicit, American. That night, Anna's bunk was vandalized, her blanket slashed, her personal items, letters from her uncle that had finally been delivered, burned in the barracks stove. Anna found Helga standing over the ashes. This is what happens to collaborators. Next time it will not be your letters burning. March 20th, 1943. Camp Visiting Day monthly privilege for POWs with approved family. Anna had written her uncle weeks ago, unsure if he was even alive, if he would remember her, if he would want to see the niece who had worn a German uniform. The visiting area chain link fence 15 feet between visitors and POWs, armed guards watching. Friedrich Hoffman arrived in a 1938 Ford pickup, dusty from ranch work. 61 years old, weathered-faced cowboy hat boots that had seen 30 Texas summers. He saw Anna across the fence. For 5 seconds, neither moved. Then Friedrich pulled off his hat, his voice cracked. Liebchen, Anna pressed against the fence. Uncle, Fritz, I am home. I am finally home. They told me you were lost in Germany. Dead, maybe. Your father. His voice broke. Your father died last year. Heart attack. Thought he would never see you again. The 15-foot gap felt like miles. No touching allowed. Guards watching. 15 minutes only. Friedrich talked fast. Your mother is alive. Your sister too. They are in California war factory work. They will want to know. I will write them tonight. Uncle, I am in trouble. They think I am a traitor. There is going to be an investigation. I will get you a lawyer, best in Texas. Do not care what it costs. You are family. You are American. We will prove it. Colonel Harrison approved Chen's request. Anna Hoffman, officially designated medical assistant POW labor class 2. This meant more freedom within camp. Better rations. Private quarters, a small room adjacent to hospital. Direct supervision by Chen only. It also meant Helga could not touch her in barracks anymore. But Anna was now isolated from other POWs, viewed as collaborator by Nazi loyalists, viewed as security risk by some American officers. Captain Chen called Anna to his office. I am moving you to hospital quarters. Effective immediately, you will have your own room. This is for efficiency purposes only. Medical operations require proximity. Understood. Anna understood the subtext. Chen was protecting her from Helga. Thank you, Captain. Chen remained stiff formal. Do not thank me. This is protocol. You are a resource. I am optimizing resource allocation. March 25th, Fort Bliss policy. Shady POWs required complete medical examination within 30 days of arrival. Anna had been working in the hospital for 2 weeks. Somehow her own examination kept getting delayed. Chen prioritizing other cases, scheduling conflicts, equipment shortages. But today, no more delays. Chen posted the schedule: 12 women for examination, 1,300 to 1,700 hours. Anna's name last on the list. The examination protocol was standard, same for male and female POWs. Remove outer uniform layers. Visual inspection for wounds, disease, malnutrition. Check for lice infestation. Document any medical concerns. Issue delousing powder if needed. For men, this took 4 minutes. Clinical and personal routine. For women, psychologically, it was entirely different. The examination tent canvas, thin walls, translucent in afternoon sun. Open flaps on both ends for ventilation. Located in the center of the processing yard, where 50 American soldiers worked daily, where hundreds of male POWs waited in queues. Privacy was technically maintained. Guards did not enter during examinations. But visibility was impossible to avoid. Silhouettes, shadows, the sense of being watched. Anna had watched 11 women before her go through the process. Some handled it stoically. Others shook. One cried. Nazi propaganda had prepared them for violation, for humiliation, for everything except what actually happened: professional, clinical detachment. But knowing something intellectually does not stop the fear response, especially for a woman raised in 1930s Germany and Texas, where modesty was morality, where female bodies were either idealized or condemned. At 16:45, Chen called Anna's name. She walked into the tent, saw the examination table, saw Captain Chen with his clipboard, saw Sergeant Mackenzie and 3 other American soldiers within view processing paperwork, saw the thin canvas walls translucent showing movement outside, saw the open tent flaps facing the yard where dozens of eyes would see silhouettes. Chen clinical routine. Remove your tunic for examination. Anna's hands gripped the hem, every muscle locked. The tent suddenly felt smaller, hotter. The shadows outside seemed closer. Chen looked up from his clipboard. Miss Hoffman, please proceed. Anna's voice came out as a whisper in English, not German, her first mistake in weeks. Please, not in front of everyone. What happened in the next 4 seconds would break every regulation Captain James Chen had ever followed. It would risk his career, his reputation, his carefully constructed professional distance. But sometimes the most profound acts of humanity occur in the smallest gestures of dignity. 4 seconds. That was all it took. Captain James Chen looked at Anna Hoffman standing before him, trembling, her hands gripping the Wehrmacht tunic that did not fit. He saw the terror in her eyes, not terror of medical procedure, terror of exposure, of being seen, of being reduced to a body in front of men who were strangers, enemies, everything Nazi propaganda had warned her about. He looked around the tent, Sergeant Bobby Mackenzie at the desk processing paperwork, 2 medical clerks sorting intake forms, an orderly sterilizing instruments. Outside through the translucent canvas, the silhouettes of soldiers moving through the processing yard, the shadows of waiting prisoners, the entire machinery of Fort Bliss operating around this one small tent. Chen made his choice. Sergeant, clear the tent, everyone out, now. Mackenzie looked up confused. Sir, regulations require witnesses for all examinations to prevent accusations of, I said everyone out. Chen's voice carried an authority that surprised even himself. The kind of voice that came not from rank, but from absolute moral certainty. Mackenzie stood. But Captain, the protocol clearly states, Sergeant Mackenzie. Chen turned to face him directly. This woman has asked for privacy. We are going to give it to her. Exit the tent. Face the processing yard. Turn your backs, all of you. That is a direct order. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Then Mackenzie nodded. Yes, sir. He walked out. The clerks followed. The orderly hesitated, then left. Chen called after them. Anyone who turns around before I give the all clear will face disciplinary action. Understood. Understood. Sir, Chen turned back to Anna. The tent was empty now except for them. He walked to both open flaps, closed them. The canvas walls still glowed translucent in the afternoon sun, but the direct sight lines were blocked. He returned to his position by the examination table, clipboard in hand, posture professional. Miss Hoffman, you may proceed with the examination. I will maintain medical protocol throughout. This will take approximately 3 minutes. Your dignity will be preserved. Anna's hands were shaking so badly she could barely unbutton her tunic. Chen looked away, giving her space, pretending to review his clipboard notes. She removed the outer layer. The examination was clinical, professional, efficient. Chen documented what regulations required: no signs of malnutrition, no evidence of disease, no lice infestation. Medical clearance approved. It took 2 minutes and 40 seconds. When Anna had dressed again, Chen opened the tent flaps, called the soldiers back in. Mackenzie returned first. Sir, is the examination complete? Complete. Miss Hoffman is cleared for continued camp duty. Process the next scheduled examination. Anna walked past the American soldiers, past the waiting prisoners, back toward the hospital quarters. Her legs felt weak, her hands still trembled. But something fundamental had shifted inside her. They told us you were animals. They told us you would humiliate us, violate us, destroy us. They lied. That night in her small room adjacent to the hospital, Anna sat on the narrow bed and cried. Not from fear, not from shame, from the complete collapse of everything she had believed for 3 years. The enemy had shown her more dignity than her own side ever had. An American officer had risked his career, violated protocol, put himself in potential jeopardy, all to preserve her humanity. She thought about the British pilot she had saved in Tunisia, how the SS officer had called it weakness, how Nazi ideology measured worth only in strength, dominance, the will to power. And here in a Texas POW camp, an American doctor had demonstrated something the Third Reich could never understand: that strength included gentleness, that power included restraint, that authority included compassion. Anna Hoffman, daughter of Texas prisoner of war, forced servant of the Wehrmacht, began to remember who she really was. But remembering came with a kickdown. Because across the camp in the women's barracks, Helga Reinhardt had heard about the medical tent incident, and she was planning her response. Helga called a secret meeting that night, not the usual barracks gathering. This was smaller, 8 women only, the true believers. The ones who still saluted the Führer's portrait they kept hidden under a floorboard. The ones who saw surrender as temporary, who waited for the promised German superweapons, the inevitable victory. Helga spoke in whispers. Anna Hoffman has crossed the final line. She now lives apart from us, works directly with the American doctor, accepts their special treatment. She is no longer one of us. What do you propose? Asked Greta's bunkmate, a former Gestapo secretary named Ingrid. Helga's eyes were cold. We send a message. To her, to the Americans, to anyone who thinks collaboration is acceptable. The riot happened 3 days later, March 28, 1943, 11:30 at night. The women's barracks should have been quiet, lights out at 2200 hours, guards stationed at exits, routine. But Helga had planned carefully. She had noticed that Greta Schmidt, the scared 19-year-old from Hamburg, had been spending time talking with Anna during hospital visits. Friendship forming, loyalty wavering. That could not stand. Helga and her group surrounded Greta's bunk after lights out. Ingrid held a hand over Greta's mouth while Helga whispered threats. You have been seen consorting with the traitor Hoffman. You bring her food. You laugh at her American jokes. You forget who you are. Greta tried to speak, but the hand pressed harder. We are going to teach you what happens to collaborators. They dragged Greta from her bunk. In the darkness, other prisoners pretended to sleep, terrified to intervene. Helga's group had Greta on the floor ready to deliver the beating when the barracks door opened. Anna Hoffman stood in the doorway, backlit by the guard tower searchlights. She had been walking back from the hospital doing late inventory when she heard the commotion. Let her go, Helga. Helga smiled in the darkness. The traitor comes to save her little friend. How touching. Anna walked forward. I said let her go, or what you will call your American protectors. Prove to everyone that you are their pet. 3 of Helga's group moved to block Anna's path. But Anna had spent 2 years in field hospitals. She had seen violence, had treated its aftermath, had learned to move quickly when lives were at stake. She grabbed the nearest woman's arm, used basic defensive training to throw her off balance. The second woman swung a makeshift weapon, a sock filled with soap bars. Anna ducked, drove her shoulder into the attacker's midsection. Helga released Greta and came at Anna directly. She was bigger, stronger, trained in Wehrmacht hand-to-hand combat. The fight should have been over in seconds. But Anna was fighting for something Helga did not understand. Not for ideology, not for nationalism, for a scared teenager who reminded her of her own sister, for basic human decency. They crashed into bunks. Women screamed. Someone ran for the guards. Helga got Anna in a chokehold. This ends now, traitor. Then the barracks door exploded inward. Sergeant Bobby Mackenzie and 4 MPs rushed in, flashlights cutting through the darkness. Mackenzie saw Anna being choked, saw Greta on the floor, bleeding, saw the 8 women surrounding them. Break it up, all of you on the floor, hands visible now. The MPS separated the fighters. Helga released Anna, who collapsed coughing. Mackenzie knelt beside her. Miss Hoffman, are you hurt? Anna shook her head, pointed to Greta. Her. Check her first. The aftermath took 3 hours to process. 12 prisoners involved, either as attackers or witnesses. Anna and Greta hospitalized with minor injuries. Helga and her group placed in isolation pending investigation. Captain Chen arrived at the hospital at 0200 hours, woken by emergency call. He found Anna in the ward, bruises forming on her neck, but insisting on treating Greta's injuries before her own. Miss Hoffman, you need medical attention. Greta first. She is just a girl. She is terrified. Chen looked at Anna, this prisoner who kept choosing others over herself, and felt something crack in his carefully constructed professional detachment. He treated Greta first, then turned to Anna. As he examined the bruising on her neck, checking for serious damage, he spoke quietly. What you did tonight was reckless. She is 19 years old. Helga would have hurt her badly, and you could have been killed. Anna met his eyes. Some things are worth the risk, Captain. You taught me that 4 days ago, in the tent. Chen's hands paused in their examination. He understood. She was talking about his choice to clear the tent, his decision to violate protocol for her dignity. That was different, he said. No, Captain. It was exactly the same. You put yourself at risk to protect my humanity. I put myself at risk to protect hers. We are not so different, you and I. Chen finished the examination in silence. As he wrapped bandages around her throat, he realized that Anna Hoffman had stopped being a prisoner in his mind. She had become something else. A colleague, a kindred spirit, perhaps something more, but he could not say that. Regulations, protocol, the entire weight of military hierarchy and the realities of war. So he said only, "You are cleared medically. Return to quarters and rest." That is an order. Yes, Captain? As she left, Chen sat alone in the quiet hospital, staring at his hands, wondering when exactly he had started to care so deeply about the well-being of enemy alien, number W17384. The formal charges came down 72 hours later. Helga Reinhardt and 7 co-conspirators, assault inciting riot, awed, attempted grievous bodily harm, maintaining Nazi ideology in violation of camp rules. But the investigation did not stop there. Military intelligence arrived from Washington. They had questions, not just about the riot, about Anna Hoffman. Why did a Wehrmacht auxiliary nurse risk her life to save a German teenager from other Germans? Why did she have such strong ties to American staff? Why did Captain Chen show her preferential treatment? What exactly was the nature of their relationship? Anna was called to formal interrogation. April 2nd, 1943. An office in the camp administration building. 2 intelligence officers, Major Williams and Captain Foster, both experienced in extracting information, detecting lies, breaking down enemy agents. Miss Hoffman, you claim to be American, born in Texas, but you served the Wehrmacht for 2 years, treated German soldiers, wore their uniform, followed their orders. How do we know you are not a German spy sent to infiltrate American installations? Anna sat straight in the hard wooden chair. I have explained my situation multiple times. I was trapped in Germany, coerced into service. I tried to escape. We have only your word on that. You have my letters to the American Embassy in Berlin, dated 1940. You have Red Cross records listing me as American detainee seeking repatriation, dated 1941. Major Williams leaned forward. We also have reports that you volunteered for Wehrmacht service, that you were a committed worker, that you even treated wounded German soldiers with great care and dedication. Anna's voice remained steady. I was a nurse. I treated wounded human beings. That is what nurses do. Some would call that collaboration. Some would call it medical ethics. The interrogation continued for 4 hours. They pressed her on every detail, every inconsistency, every moment that could be interpreted as willing cooperation with the enemy. Finally, Major Williams stood. Miss Hoffman, pending the outcome of this investigation, you are hereby charged with providing aid and comfort to enemy forces during wartime. You will face a military tribunal. If found guilty, the penalty is execution or life imprisonment. Anna felt the room tilt. Execution. For trying to survive. For doing her job as a medical professional. For being in the wrong place when war broke out. When is the tribunal? 3 weeks. May 1st. You will be assigned military counsel. You may also retain civilian counsel if able. As they led her back to quarters, Anna passed the hospital. Saw Captain Chen through the window conducting routine examinations. He looked up, their eyes met. He saw the fear in her face, knew immediately something was catastrophically wrong. That evening, Chen received his own summons. Colonel Harrison's office. Captain Chen, you are being called to testify at the tribunal of Anna Hoffman. The prosecution believes you have shown inappropriate favoritism toward a prisoner. They want to know if your judgment has been compromised. Chen stood at attention. Sir, my judgment is sound. Miss Hoffman is a skilled medical professional. I utilized her talents for the benefit of camp operations. Nothing more. The medical tent incident suggests otherwise. You violated protocol, cleared the tent, gave special treatment. I gave a terrified young woman basic human dignity, sir. That is not special treatment. That is decency. Colonel Harrison sighed. Off the record, Captain, I agree with you. That woman got a raw deal. Trapped by circumstances, forced into service, now facing execution for surviving. It is unjust. Then help her, sir. I cannot. This comes from above my pay grade. Washington wants a show trial. Wants to demonstrate that we do not tolerate collaboration, even coerced collaboration. Politics. Chen felt anger rising, carefully controlled. Then I will testify to the truth, that Anna Hoffman is no collaborator, that she is a victim, that she deserves justice. Be careful, Captain. Your testimony could damage your own career. You are Chinese American. You have already faced discrimination. This could give your enemies ammunition. Chen met his commander's eyes. Some things are worth the risk, sir. As he left the office, Chen realized he had just quoted Anna's own words back at him from the hospital. Some things are worth the risk. He was putting his career, his reputation, everything he had worked for on the line. For a German POW. For a woman he barely knew. Except he did know her. In the operating room, in the quiet moments of medical work, in the way she treated every patient with equal care, regardless of nationality. He knew her character, her integrity, her goodness. And if the Army could not see that, then the Army was wrong. Uncle Friedrich Hoffman hired the best defense attorney in Texas. Samuel Brennan Austin, based specialist in immigration and citizenship law. Expensive. Friedrich mortgaged part of his ranch to pay the retainer. Brennan reviewed Anna's case and immediately saw the problem. You are caught between two legal systems, Miss Hoffman. Technically American, so treason charges apply. But also German resident for 3 years, so enemy alien status applies. They will use whichever interpretation hurts you more. What are my chances without strong evidence of coercion? 20%. With evidence, maybe 60%. Brennan went to work. He filed requests with the State Department, the Red Cross Swiss diplomatic channels. He needed proof that Anna had been forced into Wehrmacht service. Not just her word, documentary proof. Weeks passed. Anna remained in restricted quarters, allowed to work hospital duties only. Helga and her Shio conspirators were transferred to maximum security facilities. Greta visited Anna daily, grateful, loyal. Then April 20th, Brennan received a package from Switzerland, forwarded through resistance contacts, inside copies of Gestapo files, on Anna Hoffman. The files documented everything. Her attempts to leave Germany in 1940, her capture at the Swiss border, her interrogation, the threats made against her family, her forced enrollment in Wehrmacht auxiliary service, her classification as politically unreliable, the surveillance reports noting her reluctance, her lack of ideological commitment. It was all there. Proof of coercion. Proof she had been a prisoner long before the Allies captured her. Brennan smiled for the first time in weeks. This changes everything. May 1st, 1943. The tribunal convened in a converted classroom at Fort Bliss. 3 presiding officers, 2 colonels, and a brigadier general. Prosecution team, 2 JAG lawyers. Defense, Samuel Brennan. The small room was packed with observers. Military personnel, camp staff, even some reporters from El Paso newspapers. This was a significant case. American citizen accused of treason. First of its kind from the European theater. Anna sat at the defense table in a borrowed civilian dress, no longer in Wehrmacht uniform. Her hands folded in her lap. Her Uncle Friedrich in the gallery praying silently. The prosecution presented first. They built their case methodically. Wehrmacht service records showing 2 years active duty. Photographs of Anna in German uniform. Medical records of German soldiers she had treated. Testimony from captured Wehrmacht officers confirming her competent, dedicated service. The lead prosecutor summarized Miss Hoffman wore enemy uniform, followed enemy orders, treated enemy wounded while Americans died on battlefields. Under any reasonable interpretation, these actions constitute providing aid and comfort to the enemy during wartime. That is the legal definition of treason. Then came the defense. Brennan called his first witness, Captain James Chen. Chen took the stand, was sworn in. Brennan began gently. Captain Chen, how would you characterize Anna Hoffman's medical abilities? Exceptional, university-level training, surgical competence, professional ethics. Professional ethics. Explain what you mean. Chen looked directly at the tribunal panel. Miss Hoffman treats every patient with equal care. German-American, it makes no difference to her. She sees wounded human beings who need help. That is medical ethics at its purest form. The prosecution cross-examined. Captain, is it not true that you gave Miss Hoffman special treatment, private quarters, better rations, preferential duty assignments? Chen's voice remained steady. I gave her appropriate accommodations for her skill level. She is a trained medical professional. I utilized her accordingly. You also violated protocol during her medical examination, cleared the tent, gave her privacy no other prisoner received. Why? Because she asked for it. Chen's eyes did not waver. Because she was terrified. Because I could see that forcing her through that examination in front of dozens of men would be cruel. So I chose decency over protocol. And you do not see that as compromising your judgment. I see it as preserving my humanity. Sir, the courtroom went silent. Chen had just admitted on the record that he had allowed personal feelings to override regulations. It could end his career, but he did not care, because Anna Hoffman was looking at him from the defense table with tears in her eyes, understanding the sacrifice he was making. The prosecution tried to recover. Captain Chen, are you personally involved with the defendant, romantically or otherwise? No, sir. Then why take such risks for her? Chen paused, chose his words carefully. Because I have faced discrimination my entire career. I know what it means to be judged, not by character, but by circumstance. Miss Hoffman is being punished for the accident of where she was when war broke out. That is unjust. If this tribunal cannot see that, then I will say it plainly, this is wrong. The prosecutors had no further questions. Next witness, Friedrich Hoffmann. Anna's uncle testified to her character, her American upbringing, her love of country, the letters she had sent begging for help for escape for any way home. Then Brennan presented the Gestapo files. The tribunal reviewed them in silence. Page after page of German documentation proving Anna had been coerced, threatened, forced into service against her will. The lead prosecutor tried to discredit the documents. How do we know these are authentic? They could be forged. Brennan had anticipated this. I have authentication from Swiss diplomatic sources, cross-referenced with Red Cross records. These are genuine Gestapo files. The Germans themselves documented that Anna Hoffman was an unwilling participant. The tribunal called for recess to review the evidence. 2 hours passed. Anna waited in an anteroom with her uncle and Brennan, trying not to hope, trying not to despair. Captain Chen found her there. The guards allowed him 5 minutes. Miss Hoffman, regardless of the outcome, I want you to know something. She looked up at him, this man who had risked everything for her dignity. You are one of the finest people I have ever known. Your courage, your compassion, your integrity, they represent the best of what it means to be human. Whatever this tribunal decides, that truth does not change. Anna stood, took his hand. Captain Chen, you saved me, not just in that tent. In every moment you chose to see me as a person rather than a problem. I will never forget that. They stood there, hands clasped, two people from different worlds who had found unexpected connection in the chaos of war. Then the guards called them back. The tribunal had reached a verdict. The 3 officers entered. Everyone rose. The brigadier general spoke. In the matter of the United States versus Anna Hoffman, this tribunal has carefully reviewed all evidence and testimony. We find as follows. The charge of treason requires willing provision of aid and comfort to enemy forces. The evidence presented, specifically, the Gestapo documentation, proves beyond reasonable doubt that Miss Hoffman's service was coerced under threat of imprisonment and harm to family members. Therefore, on the charge of treason, we find the defendant not guilty. Anna's knees went weak. Friedrich caught her arm. However, the general continued, Miss Hoffman did fail to report to American authorities upon return to United States soil. This represents a violation of citizenship obligations during wartime. On this charge, we find the defendant guilty. Sentence time served approximately 8 weeks detention at Fort Bliss. 5 years probation. Required loyalty oath. Status reclassified from enemy alien to supervised American citizen. Miss Hoffman will remain in El Paso area, report monthly to authorities, and may not travel without permission until probation ends. The general looked directly at Anna. Miss Hoffman, you have been cleared of the most serious charges. You are free to rebuild your life. Use this second chance wisely. Court dismissed. Anna sat in stunned silence as the room emptied. Not guilty of treason, free, alive. Her uncle embraced her, crying. Friedrich never cried. Brennan shook her hand, professional satisfaction evident. We did it, Miss Hoffman. You get to go home. Home. Anna had not had a home in almost 4 years. She looked around for Captain Chen, but he had already left. Duty called. Regulations. Protocol. But as she walked out of that courtroom into the bright Texas sun, Anna knew something had fundamentally changed. She was no longer Anna Hoffman, the prisoner. She was Anna Hoffman, the American, the nurse, the survivor. And somewhere in this camp, a Chinese-American doctor who had shown her dignity when she had nothing else was continuing his work, saving lives, proving his own worth in a country that still questioned it. They would see each other again, in the hospital, in passing. in the careful professional distance that regulations required. But both of them knew some connections transcend circumstance. Some moments of humanity echo forever. And in a Texas POW camp in the spring of 1943, two people had found in each other proof that kindness survives even when the world descends into madness. May 1943. Anna Hoffman walked out of Fort Bliss a free woman for the first time in 4 years. Not entirely free. Probation meant check-ins, restrictions, monthly reports to authorities. But compared to what she had endured, compared to the alternative, it felt like resurrection. Uncle Friedrich drove her to his ranch in the 1938 Ford pickup, dust trails rising behind them on the El Paso highway. The Texas landscape spread out in every direction, scrub brush, distant mountains, sky so vast it hurt to look at. Anna had forgotten how much space America had, how much room to breathe. The ranch house stood where she remembered it. Adobe and wood wraparound porch windmill, spinning lazily in the afternoon breeze. Home. Friedrich helped her inside. The smell hit her immediately: leather, coffee, wood smoke, the particular scent of a place lived in and loved, her father's house, except her father was gone now. Dead while she was trapped in Germany wearing enemy uniform, unable to say goodbye. She stood in the kitchen where she had eaten breakfast as a child, where her mother had made biscuits, where Sunday mornings meant bacon and eggs, and the radio playing big band music. Uncle Fritz noticed her tears. I kept it the way he left it. Thought maybe if you came home, you would want it this way. Anna touched the kitchen table, the same one from her childhood. Solid oak scarred from decades of use. Real. Permanent. Everything she had lost and found again. That evening, Friedrich organized a small gathering. Not a party. Anna was not ready for celebration. Just family friends, ranch hands, people who had known her as a girl and wanted to welcome her home. They set up outside on the porch as the sun descended toward the western mountains. Long tables covered in checkered cloth. And the smell, that unmistakable Texas barbecue smell. Friedrich had been smoking brisket since dawn. Mesquite wood, low and slow, the way his father had taught him, the way Texans had been doing it for generations. The meat had been cooking for 14 hours, fat, rendering smoke penetrating every fiber, creating that dark mahogany bark on the outside, while the inside stayed tender and pink. When Friedrich sliced into it, steam rose. The knife cut through like butter. He placed the first piece on Anna's plate, the smoke ring visible, that quarter-inch of pink just below the crust. Anna lifted it to her mouth. Bit down. The flavor exploded. Smoked salt beef fat, the slight tang of the dry rub. The texture tender enough to pull apart with a fork, but with enough structure to hold together. The richness of properly rendered brisket fat coating her tongue, the char from the bark adding complexity. She closed her eyes and was 12 years old again at her father's birthday party, eating barbecue and laughing while cowboys played guitar and her mother danced. Uncle Fritz watched her. Welcome home, Liebchen. The gathered ranchers and their families ate and talked. They did not ask Anna about the war, did not press her for stories. They understood that some things needed time. Instead, they told her about the ranch, about cattle prices, about the drought last summer, and the good rain this spring. Normal things, American things, life continuing as it always had in this corner of Texas. As the sun set, painting the sky orange and purple and red, someone brought out a crate of glass bottle, Coca-Cola ice cold from the spring house. Anna had not seen a Coca-Cola in 5 years. The distinctive bottle shape, the red label, the condensation beating on cold glass. She twisted the cap off, heard that perfect hiss of carbonation releasing. The first sip was pure nostalgia. Sweet fizzy with that particular Coca-Cola taste that existed nowhere else. It tasted like Friday nights at the drugstore soda fountain, like high school football games, like being young and American and unburdened by war. One of the ranch hands, an older man named Pete, raised his bottle. To Anna, to coming home, to second chances. Everyone raised their bottles. Anna felt tears again, but this time from gratitude, from belonging, from the simple joy of being surrounded by people who did not care about Wehrmacht service or tribunals or the weight of the last 4 years. They cared that she was Friedrich's niece, that she was home. That was enough. But as the evening ended and guests departed, and Anna lay in her childhood bedroom, looking at familiar ceiling beams, her mind drifted to Fort Bliss, to the hospital, to Captain James Chen. She had not seen him since the tribunal. He had returned to duty immediately after testifying. Protocol, distance, the careful boundaries military regulations required. Anna wondered if she would see him again, wondered if she wanted to, wondered what it meant that she thought about him before sleep, this man who had shown her dignity when she had nothing, who had risked his career to testify on her behalf. She wondered if he thought about her too. He did. Captain James Chen sat in his quarters at Fort Bliss that same night, reviewing medical reports, trying to focus on work. Failing. Anna Hoffman was gone. Cleared, released, no longer his responsibility. No longer a prisoner he supervised. No longer someone he had professional obligation to treat with careful distance. Which meant there was no longer any regulation keeping them apart. Except there was. She was on probation. He was active duty military. The power imbalance remained. Any relationship would be complicated, questionable, potentially damaging to both of them. Chen had built his entire career on following rules, on proving that a Chinese American could be trusted, could serve with honor, could rise above the discrimination that had blocked him from civilian practice. Getting involved with a former enemy alien, a woman he had supervised as a prisoner, would undo all of that, would confirm every suspicion that his judgment was compromised, that he had shown favoritism, that he could not be trusted with authority. The smart move was to maintain distance, to let her rebuild her life, to focus on his duty. Chen knew this intellectually, but he also knew that Anna Hoffman had changed something in him, had reminded him that rules existed to serve justice, and when they conflicted with justice, the rules were wrong. He had testified knowing it could end his career, had cleared the medical tent knowing it violated protocol, had defended her knowing the consequences, and he would do it all again, because some things he had learned were worth the risk. The war in Europe continued, through summer 1943, fall-winter. Anna found work at the El Paso Veterans Hospital, treating wounded soldiers returning from North Africa, Italy, eventually France. Her medical training made her valuable. Her own experience as a POW made her compassionate. She understood what it meant to be trapped by circumstances, to carry guilt for surviving when others did not, to question every choice made under duress. The veterans responded to her, trusted her. She had a way of seeing past the physical wounds to the deeper damage, the psychological scars that would outlast any battlefield injury. Captain Chen remained at Fort Bliss, processing the endless flow of prisoners. German, Italian, and eventually some Japanese transfers from Pacific camps. He ran his hospital with the same precision, the same commitment to treating every patient with equal care. Occasionally, Anna visited Fort Bliss for medical consultations. The VA hospital sometimes needed expertise on treating former POWs, understanding their psychological state, navigating language barriers. When she visited, she would see Chen in passing. Hallways, parking lots, the commissary. They would nod, exchange professional courtesies, nothing more. But there was always that moment, that half second when their eyes met and both remembered the medical tent, the tribunal, the unspoken connection. Then they would move on. Duty called, life continued. By spring 1945, everyone knew the war in Europe was ending. Soviet forces had taken Berlin. Hitler was dead. The Wehrmacht was collapsing. It was only a matter of time. May 8, 1945, VE Day. Victory in Europe. El Paso celebrated. Parades, parties, church bells ringing. The war that had consumed 6 years and millions of lives was over, at least on one front. Anna watched from Uncle Friedrich's ranch, conflicted. Relief that the killing had stopped. Grief for Germany, the country of her ancestors now destroyed. Worry about her mother and sister in California, her extended family in what remained of German cities. Uncle Fritz found her on the porch at sunset. You can feel two things at once, you know. Happy the war is over. Wish about the parent. I keep thinking about the soldiers I treated. German boys who believed in something that turned out to be monstrous. American boys who died stopping them. All of them just boys. Friedrich sat beside her. War does that. Turns complicated people into simple categories. Enemy, ally, good, evil. But you know better. You have seen both sides. That night, unable to sleep, Anna drove into El Paso. She found herself at Fort Bliss. The gates were open for VE Day celebrations. Soldiers and civilians mixing, everyone too joyful to worry about security protocols. She walked through the camp to the hospital, saw light in Chen's office window. She knocked. "Come in." Chen looked up from paperwork, saw Anna. For a moment, neither spoke. "I am sorry," she said. "I should not be here. I did not want to be alone tonight." Chen stood. "Neither did I." They stood there in the small office, the sounds of distant celebration filtering through walls, and for the first time since the tribunal, they were truly alone together, without professional obligation or legal complication between them. "The war is over," Anna said, "in Europe. Pacific continues. Will you stay in the army?" Chen had been asking himself the same question for months. "I do not know. My enlistment ends in 3 months. I could request discharge. Return to California. Try again for civilian practice. And if they reject you again, then I will know I tried." Anna took a step closer. "Captain Chen, I need to tell you something. What you did for me in the tent at the tribunal, it saved my life. Not just legally, it saved who I am. It reminded me that goodness exists even in terrible circumstances." Chen wanted to close the distance between them, wanted to take her hand, wanted to say that she had done the same for him, had reminded him that following conscience mattered more than following orders. But he could not. Military regulations still applied. He was still an officer. The power imbalance remained. "Miss Hoffman, why, Anna, please, just Anna, Anna." He said her name carefully like it meant something. "You should go. This is complicated, I know. If anyone saw us here alone, they would make assumptions. Let them." Chen shook his head. "You are rebuilding your life. You have probation to complete, a future to build. I will not jeopardize that." "What about your future?" "My future is," Chen paused, "is uncertain. The army may not want me after the war. Civilian hospitals still will not hire Chinese doctors in most places. I do not know where I belong anymore." Anna understood that feeling, the sense of being caught between worlds. Too American for Germany, too German for some Americans, never quite fitting anywhere completely. "Maybe belonging is not about places," she said quietly. "Maybe it is about people, about finding someone who sees you as you really are." Their eyes met. Chen knew what she was offering: connection, understanding, perhaps something more. But the timing was wrong, the circumstances impossible. He was leaving soon, discharge pending. She was tied to El Paso by probation. Their lives were moving in different directions. "You should go," he said again more firmly. Anna nodded. She had pushed as far as she could, understood his restraint even as she wished he would abandon it. At the door, she turned back. "Captain Chen, if circumstances were different." "I know." He allowed himself the smallest smile. "I know." She left. Chen sat in the quiet office long after midnight, listening to celebrations die down, wondering if he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. June 1945. Captain James Chen received his discharge papers, honorable service, commendation for medical work, reference letters from commanders. He packed his few belongings, said goodbye to Fort Bliss, drove west toward California in a used Chevrolet he had bought with saved military pay. He did not say goodbye to Anna, could not trust himself to keep it professional if he did. But he stopped at Friedrich Hoffman's ranch on the way out of El Paso, left a letter with the uncle, asked him to deliver it after Chen had gone. The letter said, "Dear Anna, by the time you read this, I will be in California. I am opening a medical practice in San Francisco, trying again despite the obstacles. I wanted to say goodbye in person, but feared I would not be able to leave if I did. You asked me once why I took risk for you. The truth is, you reminded me why I became a doctor, not to follow protocols, but to help people, to see their humanity even when systems treat them as problems. You are one of the finest people I have ever known. Your courage, your compassion, your integrity, they changed how I see my profession and myself. I hope you build a beautiful life in Texas. I hope you find peace. I hope you remember that what happened to you does not define you. What you do next, that is who you are. If circumstances were different, if the world made sense, I would ask you to come with me. But you have probation to complete, family here, roots to rebuild. And I have my own battles to fight, my own place to find. Perhaps in another life we met at different times. Perhaps there we could have, but this is the life we have." And in this life, I will always be grateful that our paths crossed, that you showed me what strength looks like, that we survived the war and found for a brief moment unexpected connection. Take care of yourself, Anna Hoffman. Respectfully, James Chen. Anna read the letter on the ranch porch at sunset, cried, understood, wished things were different, accepted they were not. She folded the letter carefully, placed it in the family Bible where she kept important things, wondered if she would ever see James Chen again, suspected she would not, tried to make peace with that. Life continued. 1946. Anna's probation reduced to minimal supervision due to exemplary conduct. She became full-time staff at the VA hospital, eventually head nurse of the surgical ward. 1947. Her mother and sister returned from California. Tearful reunion, stories shared, wounds acknowledged, healing beginning. 1948. Anna's probation officially ended. Full citizenship restored. She was free to travel to live without restrictions to finally be simply American again. 1949. Anna married briefly a veteran she had treated who understood her past, who did not judge. The marriage was kind but not passionate. He died in 1960 from complications of war wounds. No children. Through all of it, Anna kept the letter, sometimes reread it, wondered what James Chen was doing in San Francisco, if he had found success, if he had married, if he remembered her. She never tried to contact him. The letter had been goodbye. She respected that. But she thought of him, the man who had chosen her dignity over protocol, who had testified knowing the cost, who had shown her that kindness survived even in the machinery of war. 1993, 50 years after Fort Bliss. Anna Hoffman was 73 years old, widowed, living quietly on the ranch she had inherited from Uncle Friedrich. Her health was declining, wheelchair-bound but mind still sharp. An invitation arrived in May. Fort Bliss, 50th Anniversary, 5. E-Day Ceremony. Special honor for former POWs and their rescuers. Would Anna attend? She almost declined. She was old, tired, not interested in revisiting the past, but something made her say yes. Curiosity, nostalgia, the sense that this might be her last chance to close that chapter properly. Her granddaughter drove her to Fort Bliss. Sarah Hoffman, 25, smart and kind, studying to be a doctor herself. Anna had been vague about her World War II experiences with family. Sarah knew the basics, but not the depth. The ceremony was held on the parade grounds. Hundreds of veterans, families, dignitaries. Anna sat in her wheelchair in the honored guest section, feeling out of place, wondering why she had come. Then the keynote speaker was introduced. Retired Dr. James Chen, former Army captain, speaking about medical corps service and humanitarian values during wartime. Anna's breath caught. James Chen, now 76, walked slowly to the podium, still tall, still dignified, hair white but posture straight. He began to speak. I learned many things during my service at Fort Bliss. I learned that medicine transcends nationality, that every patient deserves dignity regardless of uniform, that sometimes the greatest battles are not won with weapons but with simple human decency. His eyes scanned the crowd as he spoke, then stopped. Found Anna. For 3 seconds, everything else disappeared. 50 years collapsed. They were 23 and 26 again, in a medical tent, in a courtroom, in a moment of connection that had survived half a century. Chen continued his speech, but his voice had changed. Softer, more personal. I learned these lessons from many people, but one person in particular taught me that courage comes in many forms. That surviving impossible circumstances with your humanity intact is the truest form of strength. That sometimes doing the right thing means breaking the rules. He looked directly at Anna. I never forgot that lesson. After the ceremony, Anna waited as crowds dispersed. Sarah noticed her grandmother's tears. "Grandma, are you okay?" Anna nodded. "Just old memories, sweetheart." Then James Chen was there, standing before her wheelchair, looking down at the woman who had changed his life 50 years ago. Anna, James. They stared at each other. Decades of unsaid things hanging in the air. Chen knelt, bringing himself to her eye level. "You look well. You are a terrible liar." Anna smiled. "I look old." "Oh, we both do," Sarah watched, confused. "Grandma, who is this?" "Sarah, this is Dr. James Chen. We knew each other during the war." A young man approached. "Grandpa, we need to get to the dinner." Chen turned. "One moment, David." The young man. 28 Marine captain in dress uniform nodded and stepped back. Sarah's eyes widened. David. David Chen. Anna looked confused. You know him, Grandma? That is my fiancé. The world tilted again. Chen and Anna stared at their grandchildren, then at each other. Your granddaughter is marrying my grandson, apparently. Sarah and David looked at each other, then at their grandparents. You two know each other. Chen started laughing, deep, genuine laughter. The absurdity of it, the cosmic irony. 50 years of staying apart and their grandchildren had found each other anyway. Anna joined the laughter, tears streaming. How is this possible? Chen shook his head. I have no idea, but perhaps the universe has a sense of humor. That evening, 4 generations gathered at Friedrich's old ranch, now Anna's home. The house filled with family, with stories, with the clicking together of puzzle pieces no one knew were scattered. Sarah and David explained how they had met. Naval conference in San Diego. Started talking. Discovered both had grandparents who had served in World War II. Started dating. Got engaged last month. Neither had known their grandparents' connection. Chen had never told his family details about Fort Bliss. Anna had kept her story private. Now it all came out. Anna told the full story for the first time. The medical tent moment, the tribunal, the letter, the goodbye that had lasted 50 years. Sarah listened stunned. Grandma, you never told me any of this. Some things were too painful to share. Anna looked at Chen. Some things felt unfinished. Chen pulled something from his jacket pocket. 2 glass bottles of Coca-Cola vintage style, the kind they had drunk at that ranch barbecue in 1943. I brought these. Thought maybe, he trailed off. Anna smiled through tears. You remember. I remember everything. He opened both bottles, the familiar hiss of carbonation, handed one to Anna. To dignity, he said. To choices. To what might have been. Anna raised her bottle. To what was. To what we survived. To finding each other again, even if it took 50 years. They drank. The taste was the same. Sweet, fizzy, pure nostalgia. Sarah asked the question everyone was thinking. Did you love him? Grandma Anna looked at James Chen, this man, who had seen her at her most vulnerable and chosen kindness, who had testified knowing the cost, who had let her go because it was right. I loved what he represented, she said carefully. Proof that humanity survives even in war, that dignity matters more than protocol, that some people choose courage over convenience. Chen added quietly, I admired her more than any soldier I ever served with. Her strength, her compassion, her refusal to let circumstances destroy her goodness. But Sarah pressed, did you love each other? Anna and Chen looked at each other. 50 years of unspoken truth between them. Yes, Anna said simply. Yes, we did. Chen took her hand. Still do, I suspect. The room went quiet. Sarah started crying. David put his arm around her. Chen continued. We were wrong people, wrong time, wrong circumstances. But the feeling was real, and apparently the universe decided to give us another chance. Through you two, he looked at his grandson and Anna's granddaughter. You found what we could not have, and that is more than I ever hoped for. As sunset painted the Texas sky as 4 generations sat together on that ranch porch, Anna felt something settle inside her. The unfinished business of 50 years, finding resolution, not through what could have been, but through what was. She had survived, had built a life, had raised family who carried forward the values she and Chen had fought for. Dignity, courage, choosing humanity over hatred. And now, in the twilight of life, she had one final gift. Knowing that the man who had shown her kindness when she had nothing had also survived, had thrived, had remembered. That night, after families had gone to bed, Chen and Anna sat alone on the porch under Texas stars. Do you have regrets? Chen asked. About what? About us. About what we did not do. Anna considered. No, we did what we could within the constraints of our time. We chose honor over desire. That was right, even if it meant 50 years apart, even then. She squeezed his hand. Because look what came from it. Sarah and David, a new generation who does not carry our wounds, who can love freely. That is the victory. Chen nodded. You are right, as usual. They sat in comfortable silence, 2 old soldiers from different sides of a forgotten war united by a moment of humanity that had echoed through decades. Anna spoke softly. People ask if I regret those years, trapped in Germany, serving as enemy, standing in that tent terrified. And what do you tell them I do not? Because that moment when an American doctor chose my dignity over his convenience, that changed everything. Chen's voice was rough with emotion. You changed me too. Taught me that rules serve people, not the other way around. That sometimes the most important thing we can do is see someone, really see them. Not as enemy or problem or category, just as human. Anna smiled. We did well, you and I. Different paths, but we did well. As dawn approached, Chen prepared to leave. He had a flight back to San Francisco, a life to return to. At his car, he turned back to Anna. If I had it to do over, do not, Anna interrupted gently. Do not play that game. We had what we had. It was real. It mattered. That is enough. Chen kissed her forehead. Goodbye, Anna Hoffman. Goodbye, James Chen. He drove away as the sun rose over the Texas plains. Anna watched until the car disappeared, then wheeled herself back inside. Sarah found her in the kitchen, looking at old photographs. Grandma, are you sad? No, sweetheart. Anna smiled. I am grateful. For survival, for second chances, for proof that love can take many forms. Romantic love, yes, but also the love of choosing someone's dignity when you do not have to, of testifying for truth when it costs you, of letting go because it is right. Sarah sat beside her. He really loved you. Anna nodded, and I loved him. But we loved other things more. Our principles, our integrity, doing right even when it hurt. She looked at her granddaughter. That is what I want you to remember. Not the romance we did not have, but the choice we made. To be decent when the world was not. To see humanity when everyone else saw enemies. To believe that kindness matters even in the machinery of war. 6 months later, Anna Hoffman died peacefully in her sleep. At her funeral, James Chen sent flowers and a note. She reminded me what it meant to be human. The world is less without her, but her legacy lived on. In Sarah and David, who married and had children of their own. In the veterans she had treated with compassion. In the story passed down through generations about a Texas girl who survived impossible circumstances with her humanity intact, and the Chinese-American doctor who chose her dignity over protocol. And in Fort Bliss archives, buried in old files, a medical examination form from March 15, 1943, with a handwritten note in the margin, privacy provided upon patient request. Medical clearance approved. Some things matter more than regulations. Signed Captain James Chen. Proof that 50 years before anyone knew the ending, two people had written the beginning. A story not of romance, but of something deeper. The choice to be kind when kindness was dangerous. To be human when humanity seemed lost. That choice echoed, still echoes, will always echo, because some moments, some decisions, some acts of simple decency transcend time and circumstance and become something larger than themselves. They become proof that even in our darkest hours, we can choose light. Even in war, we can choose peace. Even when the world tells us to hate, we can choose to see. Please, she had said, not in front of everyone. And an American doctor who could have ignored her, who could have followed protocol, who had every reason to treat her as enemy, chose instead to see a terrified young woman who deserved dignity. That choice saved her life. That choice changed his life. That choice 50 years later brought two families together. That choice proved that kindness is never wasted, that humanity always matters, that we are never just our circumstances, we are our choices. And James Chen and Anna Hoffman, in a canvas tent in Texas in 1943, chose well.